I'm Scott, and today we're making a Grim Reaper.
So from the front side, I have a Halloween mask that I bought for last year that didn't really necessarily work, and he's sitting on top of a foam head, so that way it gives the dimensions of the head a little bit better of a look. And these are just simply bed sheets. These are old bed sheets that I'm using here. This is a battery powered lantern that's plastic, that way it's nice and lightweight. And I have him dry fitted so that way I can see where I need to fix him. So for example, right here, his torso needs to be fixed a little bit, as does closer to around the legs. I need to squeeze this in some, maybe squeeze this in some a little bit along through here. But his shoulder width, I'm going to keep his shoulder width the way that he is, and before I monster mud him, and I'm going to keep the back side the way he is as well. So he is roughly going to be a little more than 7 feet tall, and this is the internal structure for support. I am going to put a block there, a block there to stop it from sliding and kicking out, and I'll also block it here with some scrap wood. I'm going to also provide lateral supports and just kind of nail them directly in like so. That way, you know, the left to the right supports are there. He will have lock-in that needs to go up roughly to this point right here, and then I'll put additional blocking up here. So the blocking up here is going to be for the shoulders, so we're going to have the shoulders coming down and kind of rounded off. PVC piping is going to be used to create and shape the shoulders. After the shoulders are shaped, PVC piping is also going to be used for the arms coming down. So one arm will be extended out holding the lantern, the other arm will just be kind of swinging a little bit. After the internal support structure is finished, I will shape it all up with chicken wire. So it's getting there, piece by piece. So as I take the sheets off of him, you can see how I have them hanging onto the chicken wire. I just poked some holes through the sheets, and I have them zip tied to the wire itself. I have these rags up here, try to act like shoulder pads. Think 1970s, 1980s, when shoulder pads was a thing back then. So that kind of beefs up his shoulder just a little bit, and it also stops the wire from pulling through the PVC. Back here you can see what I've done here with just a block of wood for the PVC to sit on. These connections are for the torso wire here. It's connected to the upper wire. The same thing here. The torso wire down here, zip tied to the chest up here, not to the chest, but I should say to the shoulders and the arms up here. And this is all that he is. Here, let me snip this. That is all that he is. He is 3 pieces of PVC piping, 2 90-degree elbows, and then some spare lumber I had sitting around in the garage. Now I have him sitting on a 2x8, and like I said, this is just spare lumber that I had sitting around. So he's sitting on a 2x8 with a it's not a 2x4, it's a 2x3, I think, piece of lumber for a main support. And then for the lateral, I have those two braces down there for the lateral. And it seems to work for the most part, but what I'm definitely going to do is I am going to secure him down with some cables, or I'm going to drill a hole perhaps over here somewhere on either side of the base and put a stake and rebar through him, so that way I know for a fact that the winds that we have here in Tennessee sometimes in October doesn't take the rest of him down. So I'm going to finish taking this off so I can reshape his torso. As you can see, he needs to lose a little weight here, and he needs to lose a little bit of weight here. I've named him George, and my pal George is a lot like me. Look, he's got to lose weight in his stomach right here. So let me take this off of him, and then we'll pick up from there. Alright guys, so here he is, completely decloaked, and to help him lose some weight where he was bulging here, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to fold it in, and then I'm going to zip tie this into each other, so that way he loses a little bit of weight around his stomach, right through here, and his legs are definitely too broad. I had that sticking out way too much. Well, hopefully you can see he's lost some weight down through here at the bottom towards his legs, and his torso is thinner. There's more definition here, more room for his cloak as well to go around him. So I'm going to dry fit him again and see how he does. Let me take his mask off so you all can see what he really looks like underneath the mask. Golly gee willikers! Raggy, look! It's just a styrofoam head. So, all I did was squeeze it together and then zip tied. So, and I'm looking around and I'm looking for zip ties like this one right here that's kind of sticking out. I don't want that sticking into my fabric. It will leave a bulge sticking out. So, you can cut them off. I've cut some of them off, and then others are just kind of tucked inside to where they're facing in towards the middle. So that's one less thing that I have to worry about. He's dressed again for his dress rehearsal, and if this was going to be indoors, then I would call it good. I like the way it looks like he's walking down through here, because this kind of looks like a foot stepping forward here. I would call him done if he was an indoor only for maybe a haunted house, or perhaps something that you want in a corner for a Halloween party. And then I would put a small fan blowing against him, so that way you get the fan effect, the creepiness of the cloak moving in the wind. And look at the lantern, even the lantern is swaying with the fan every time the fan comes around. So tomorrow I'm going to monster mud him and he will be much lighter than what he is now, and then we'll go from there. If I don't like how light he's going to be, then we will go ahead and paint him from there then. So and there's going to be more definition in the crinkles too, in the wrinkles, excuse me, not the crinkles, but in the wrinkles. There'll be more definition in his hood. With the Monster Mud, it'll be easier to shape. Right now, everything's kind of fallen flat, especially in through here. And I am using bed sheets, so I'm going to end up cutting this off. That way, it has this raggedy look, and instead of it being fine tailored material, you know, I don't think that this is a Grim Reaper that is trying to make a fashion statement here. So, all right, until tomorrow then. We're getting ready to mix up my mud for this guy, for George here, and the ratio or the formula from everything that I've read and everything that I've watched and seen, it says it's supposed to be a 5-to-1 ratio. So what I have here is 1 gallon of dry lock, and you have to pick, well, where I went, you have to pick the color that is tintable with dry lock only, and the darkest gray that they had is this right here. I'm not happy with how light it's going to make him. He's going to become much lighter than what he is now in color. So I have some of this right here that's a little bit darker, but I think I'm going to add to this, because when you add this gallon of paint to this white sheetrock or this white mud right here, it's going to make it even lighter in color. So I'm going to mix that full gallon with 4.5 gallon bucket here. So it's a fairly close 5-to-1, but in reality it's going to be a little bit less than that. It's going to be closer to a 4-to-1 mixture because of the fact that that's a 4.5 gallon, and I'm probably going to add at least half of that to what this is going to be, because I need to darken it up somehow. So I have the plastic down because Monster Mud is going to be very, very messy, and it's going to get all over the place. On his tunic, I have punched holes through the fabric, and I have zip ties running all the way down. That's going to make it easier for me once he's mudded. Once the tunic is mudded, the sheet is mudded, I can, with the zip tie, I can very quickly go ahead and tie it up here, and it'll stay all the way around without me trying to find the holes inside of it. So one last look of what he looks like before I go ahead and start to mud him up. So my Grim Reaper, who I've affectionately named George, he's right at 7 feet tall, 39 inches wide, weighs roughly around 40 pounds. The majority of his weight, though, is coming from the lumber that I've used back here, especially with that 2x8 that you see for his base. So he's very stable from front to back, but side to side, not so much. So when I put him out for display later on for Halloween, I'm going to take some rebar that's bent, and I'm going to put 2 bars back here, one in each corner, so that way his lateral loads will remain stable in some of the strong winds that we can get from storms in October here in Middle Tennessee. So I am very pleased with how he came out. After the monster mud had dried, I took black flat paint and spray painted him all the way around. Up inside of his sleeves, I spray painted it heavily inside of the sleeves that we have that darkness going on deep inside. And I did the same thing here. I made it a little bit darker here. We made it a little bit darker right here as well. So there he is in all of his 7-foot glory.